All right, folks, stepping outside of our comfort zone here for this video, quite literally outside my penthouse suite balcony, as you can see. If you're wondering why we're not in the usual location, I have dozens and dozens of unblocked Slightly shirts packed up, ready to ship out, that's blocking the way. So if you're wondering where those are, there you go. I want to talk really quickly about this game, this series, the Mavericks Thunder series, tied 2-2 after an improbable loss by the Dallas Mavericks last night, the vibes of the postseason, and just, why I love the playoffs. It's a frustrating loss. It's one of the more frustrating postseason losses I can remember, to be quite honest with you. I wouldn't say one of the most heartbreaking, because I think that Knicks Sixers game 5, when the Knicks looked like they were about to close out the series and Tyrese Maxey had a 35-foot three to extend the series, it was just absolutely heartbreaking, right? But this one's one of the more frustrating ones, because the Mavericks have a golden opportunity to go up 3-1 in this series. The Thunder just, in the first half, they played terrible basketball, and a lot of that is due to the Mavericks' incredible defense. We'll talk about that here in a bit. But man, it was handed to you, basically. The Thunder came out, looked like the young, inexperienced team. You punch them in the mouth, and it looked like this thing should be over, right? But you just let them hang in just enough. It's funny, I was going back and looking at my tweets because somebody said I was the most negative fan in the fan base after last night, which I disagree with, but nonetheless, I'd agree. I'm a passionate individual. I get very passionate about the things that I care about. So I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I don't apologize at all for that. Go watch somebody else. There's plenty of people out there. I'll welcome you back with open arms when you inevitably return. But no, anyways, so the first quarter, you're up by 10. It feels like you should probably be up by 15. Right, but you let them hang around. You turn the ball over 5 times in the quarter, just a little bit sloppy offensively. You're up by 11 at halftime. Feels like you should be up by 20. It just does. Feels like you should be up by 20. The Thunder have 10 points off of turnovers, 7 turnovers in the first half for the Mavericks. Just sloppy basketball that allows the Thunder to stay in the basketball game just long enough for them to have a superstar MVP level performance from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to carry them to a win. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was absolutely phenomenal in game 4. I mean, he was remarkable. 34 points, 27 shots. You look at his shot chart, and it's just tough mid-range jumper after tough mid-range jumper after tough mid-range jumper. And my God, he had an incredible performance. You have to tip your cap to him, because the Mavericks defensively, I thought, did a great job. And this is why I'll talk about here in a second about why I still feel very good about this series for the Mavericks. I thought the Mavericks defense last night was remarkable. I thought it was maybe their best performance in the postseason, which is saying a lot, because just from watching all these postseason games, I think the Mavericks have had the second best defense in the NBA this playoffs behind the Timberwolves. Like, they've been that good defensively, and last night was just another defensive masterclass. I mean, the rotations are so on point. They're flying around the floor. They had 13 blocks in this game. That was a franchise record in a postseason game. Just so much size and length. They're cutting off the driving lanes. They're running guys off the three-point line, and they're forcing them into tough mid-range jumpers. 50% of the Thunder's jump shots in this game, or 50% of their shots in total, were mid-range jumpers. 50% of their shots were mid-range jumpers. I mean, that is a recipe for success, right? If you're a defense, those are the shots that you live with, and you tip your cap to the Thunder for hitting them, and you tip your cap to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for hitting tough shot after tough shot. But if that's what the game's going to be, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you need to make all of these tough contested mid-range jumpers, which you're capable of doing, but you need to make all these tough contested mid-range jumpers, then you feel good about it, because then it just gets into a superstar shoot-off, and you feel good about your two superstars, and we'll talk about those two guys here in a bit. But defensively, I thought you were remarkable. It's just, down the stretch, you got out-executed. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander made plays. Chet made some huge plays in the fourth quarter. J-Dub had some big plays. The Thunder made some plays defensively. And you lost a game that almost felt unlosable in the first half. And it sucks, because now the series is 2-2 instead of 3-1. This has been a reoccurring trend for this team under Jason Kidd for some reason. They don't win game 1s. They've yet to win 3 straight postseason games in the Luka Doncic era. They've had, just off the top of my head, in the 5 postseason series that Jason Kidd has coached, they've had 3 different chances to go up 3-1 in a series. They're 0-3 in those games. And I think in the Luka era, they've had 4 chances to go up 3-1, because I'm thinking back to that Clippers series, and they've yet to do it. They've yet to go up 3-0. They've yet to go up 3-1. They've yet to really assert their will in a series, and they just make life as difficult as possible. But I still feel good. I have to be real with you. This is why I wanted to make this video, because I've had fans and people DM me, and friends of mine that text me, and they're like, this is over. Like, you can't lose a game like that. This series is over. And it could be. Who knows? Best 2 out of 3 now with 2 games in OKC. This could be a coin flip at this point. Who knows? But I still feel really good about it, because it's not like the Thunder won by 25 points and they made adjustments that you might not have answers to. That's not what happened. You outplayed the Thunder for the vast majority of this game, and then you just collapsed and diarrheaed all over the court. Let's just call it what it is. Okay, Thunder fans were mad at me that I didn't give the Thunder enough credit after the game last night. I'll give them credit. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was amazing. Like, they made more plays than the Mavericks down the stretch of the game, but the Mavericks lost this game. They just did. They full stop just did. You have to clean up on some things. 13 of 23 from the free throw line. That shit's not going to cut it. 13 of 24, whatever it was. That is not going to cut it at all. Like, that is diabolical. That is so incredibly bad. This has been one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the league this season. They've been the worst free throw shooting team in the postseason. It was inevitably going to bite them in the ass, but it cannot be this bad. And it's hilarious because they're 2-point game with 10 seconds left. Luka gets fouled. Hilarious because he's been flopping and crying and complaining for fouls all night, and he finally gets one. He goes to the free throw line. Of course he fucking misses the first one. Like, of course he does. Like, of course he does. And, the other end, the Thunder are knocking down all of their free throws. I think I saw a stat that it was the first time that a team shot 55% from the free throw line, while the other team shot 95%, something like that. No surprise, right? So that came back to bite you in the ass. The turnovers came back to bite you in the ass. The turnovers in the first half, you were better in the second half at not turning the ball over, but in the first half, those turnovers let the Thunder stick around just enough to have a chance to win the game, in a game that should have been over at halftime. So it's just offensive execution stuff for the Mavericks that was sloppy and all over the place last night, in a game where, again, your defense was just incredible. Like, your defense was so good in this game. It just was. You got a superstar performance from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that propelled the Thunder to a win. And on the flip side for the Mavericks, they're superstars. Where, again, if you're the Mavs and this gets into a slugfest where it's tough jumper for Shai and tough jumpers for the Mavs superstars, I think if you're the Mavericks, you feel good about your chances in that game. Kyrie Irving with another game in the series where he scores single-digit points, 9 points again in this game. Luka Doncic, 6 of 20 from the field. Another woeful, awful, inefficient game from Luka from the field to go along with 7 turnovers in this one. PJ Washington was your leading scorer for the 3rd straight game. It's funny because if you told the Thunder, hey, the Mavericks have a 3-game stretch in this series where PJ Washington leads the team in scoring, you would feel great. The fact that they've only won one of those games, it probably doesn't feel good if you're the Thunder. But PJ Washington, another great game for him. Tip of the cap to him. He was amazing in this one. Quickly turning into one of my favorite Mavericks of all time. Another just hilarious PJ Washington being a dog moment in this one. Shout out to him. Shout out to really all of the role players, because I thought they came to play and they got let down a little bit by their superstars. I'll start with Kyrie Irving, because 9 points again. I want to throw him some bail because he is getting a ton of attention from this Thunder defense. He's getting doubled. They're throwing so many bodies at him. And the Mavericks, I think, are clearly, and Kyrie Irving is clearly just using that to play make and create. Like, they're comfortable with playing these 4-on-3 situations. Nobody in the league plays more 4-on-3 situations than the Mavericks because of how much attention Luka Doncic gets. And now it's Kyrie Irving. And they're cool with PJ Washington getting those opportunities. They're cool with Derek Jones Jr. getting those opportunities because they were both really good last night in those chances. But at some point, you need Kyrie Irving to score, especially late in games when buckets really matter. You can't really depend on Derek Jones Jr. and PJ Washington. You need your superstars to get going. And 9 points is just not going to cut it. They're going to have to make it's got to be both Kyrie Irving and the coaching staff of the team. They have to figure out ways to get Kyrie Irving going, run some sets, run some actions to get Kyrie Irving the ball and get him attacking immediately before a double team can come or help can come, or Kyrie's just going to have to attack before a double team can get there. He did it several times last night. He's just going to have to be a little bit more assertive in finding his shots. And I'm hoping that we get like a first half in Game 5 where Kyrie has 14, 15, 16 points. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, because we've been saying this now for pretty much the entire season. But I'm hoping that that's what we get. So Kyrie Irving, who's just done everything else so well for you. He's played good defense. Last night I thought, when you're going to play 40-plus minutes in a game, you have to know you can't pick up stupid fouls. I thought Kyrie had 2 stupid fouls in this game, and with 5 minutes or so left, he had 5 fouls. And I think you could tell defensively that he just wasn't as aggressive as he's been this postseason, where he's just been amazing defensively. It just wasn't that same Kyrie down the stretch of the game when he was dealing with the 5 fouls. So you can't pick up stupid fouls there, and Kyrie knows that. So that was just a problem there. For Luka, so it's obvious Luka's dealing with a knee injury, okay? Clear as day. This is a guy who had a historic offensive season. I thought was the best player in the league. The MVP of this NBA this season should have been his. This is a guy who's second all-time in playoff points per game. And it's just been a horrible postseason for him. No two ways around it. For his standards, an absolutely awful postseason for him. So he's clearly dealing with a knee injury. It's not like he forgot how to play basketball, right? It's not like defenses have now figured out what we need to do against Luka. Like, he's clearly injured. But man, he's got to start controlling what he can control. Because he's taking himself out of games in this series by being so frustrated with the officials. And it's one of the worst I've ever seen it. I thought the tail end of last season, when the Mavericks were falling apart and spiraling and the frustration was mounting, I think you could tell Luka was so frustrated and he was just letting it all out on the court, on the officials, on his teammates, whatever. I thought he was much better at it this season, over the course of the season. He's still always going to complain. He's that super competitor. He's going to complain and yell at the refs. This series, it has been terrible. It's been absolutely horrible, and it's absolutely affected his play. It has absolutely affected his play. Everyone's talking about Lou Dort's the Luka stopper. No, Luka has been the Luka stopper in this series. He just has. Okay, I saw it in person in Game 3. When you see it in person, it's shocking how much he fucking cries and complains and yells to the refs. And you can sit here and say, oh, well, he's getting fouled. Cool. You have to control what you can control. If they're going to call it, great. If they're not going to call it, okay. You can deal with it during a timeout. You can deal with it during a loose ball. There's a play in this game where the play is happening offensively. PJ Washington's under the basket, dying because Chet's there. Luka is 30 feet away with his back turned to the fucking play, yelling at the official as the play's happening. That can't happen, brother. We can't have that. We cannot have that. Really, at any point, it's inexcusable. In a postseason, a huge postseason game, we absolutely cannot have it. He's just got to control what he can control. I know he's frustrated. Because he's an ultra competitor. He's not 100%. He wants to be 100%. That's frustrating him. He feels like Lu Dort's playing football out there, and Lu Dort is playing football out there. Let's just be serious. He's been very physical defensively. I can't say he's done a necessarily great job on Luka, because I still feel like Luka's getting to his spots. He's just not converting on them. There's floaters. I noticed this in Game 3 in person. His floaters are off. Like, his touch is just completely and totally abandoned him right now. And I just think part of it is he's such in his own head about officiating that he's trying to, like, contort his body mid-floater attempt or mid-shot attempt to try and draw contact, to try and show the official, see, I told you I'm getting fouled, instead of just focusing on finishing the shot, going up strong and playing through contact. So he's going to have to be better. Maybe the Mavericks figure out a way to try and maybe cut Luka's shot attempts down a little bit, try to get him easier shots that he's not forcing, threes when the shot's just not really there. More post-ups. I don't know why the Mavericks completely go away from Luka post-ups until the fourth quarter. Like, that should be something that they go to early on, because I still think that's, especially in this series against the Thunder where there's a lack of size for the Thunder, I feel like that's something they can go to. But yeah, your superstars are just going to have to be better over the next 2 to 3 games if you want to win this series. That's just full stop. Okay, because you got the MVP, all-star, megastar level performance from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here in Game 4. How are the Mavericks superstars going to respond? Because their role players are playing well enough to win this series. Their defense has been phenomenal, and they're playing championship caliber defense. Their superstars are going to have to answer the call. And if that's the deciding factor, I still feel good about it, despite the fact that Luka's been struggling, and this is who Kyrie's been all season long, where he's just selective with his shot attempts. I still feel good about those two guys. I do. Like, I don't know. You'd have to literally cut one of their legs off for me to say, I don't know. Like, part of me, deep in the back of my brain, is still like, Luka's going to drop like 43 or something in Game 5, isn't he, on the road, and shush the crowd. Like, that shit's about to happen, isn't it? But we've seen, like, after Game 1, I was like, well, we're probably not getting a Luka game that bad again. We got a Luka game that bad again in Game 4. But I feel comfortable in saying we won't get a Luka game that bad again. Collectively, they won't do that again. So I still feel really good about this series, because defensively, you've just been electric. I don't want you to overreact to anything Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did. Lucas said in the postgame that they should double team Shai Gilgeous-Alexander more. I disagree wholeheartedly. Continue to make his shots difficult. The moment that you start sending too much help and your defense collapses, that leads to the threes that the Oklahoma City Thunder want. We do not want that. Let them live in the mid-range. 50% of their shots in the mid-range. Let them live with that. Okay, you just have to execute offensively. You can't miss that many free throws again. And that's just that. I still feel really good about the Mavs' chances in this series because, again, defensively they've been great, and I feel like the Thunder just don't have answers for some of the things the Mavericks have. They just have to play their game, can't lose the game themselves, and control the things that they can control. That's it, and they'll win the series. Feel good. Keep your head up. This is the playoffs. You lose a game, it sucks. It stings. You're not going to go 16-0 in the postseason. You're just not. This is the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. It was never going to be easy. I kind of thought it could have been easy, but it was never going to be easy. We'll see you guys later.